Welcome to another episode of Strictly Business Unscripted. I'm your host, Keandra Jones. This podcast educates, ignites inspiration, fosters encouragement, and paves the way for growth among small businesses and the overall Oak Cliff community. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Dallas Zoo, Home Care Network, Breakfast Brothers, and Serve Pro. Thank you for your continued support. Now, let's get into it. Today on Strictly Business Unscripted, we're joined by Benjamin J. Vann, friend, founder, and CEO of Impact Ventures, a Dallas-based nonprofit accelerator and integrated capital platform that's reshaping who gets access to capital and opportunity. Since launching in 2017, Ben has helped more than 3,500 under-resourced entrepreneurs launch and scale their businesses, supporting founders and raising over $22 million and creating hundreds of jobs. With nearly 2 decades of experience across finance, philanthropy, and impact investing, Ben is nationally recognized. He's the leader who's building real pathways to generational wealth through inclusive entrepreneurship and economic justice. Please help me welcome my friend, Mr. Benjamin Vann. How are you today?
Hello, I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Good. Thank you for being here. So one of the questions, I'm going to ask you some questions I normally don't ask. What do you prefer to be called? Because I think I'll be calling you all kinds of
I
stuff.
do have a few monikers that I've earned over the years, but Benjamin is fine.
Benjamin is fine.
Yeah, or
okay.
Ben for short.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you and I met how long ago?
Whew, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yes. And it's so interesting when I have people on the show and we're talking and we realize that we've been in these spaces together for a very long time, just trying to fight this fight. So
right.
I'm going to tell you up front, if I've never told you before, I appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
I really do.
And as well, the feeling is mutual.
Thank you so much. Well, outside of all the accomplishments, and we're going to get to that, tell me, who is Benjamin, Ben, BJ? Who are you?
Yeah, so I, at heart, I'm a Midwest kid, preacher's kid, that was raised on, Midwest values, Southern values, of hard work, mean what you say, right, and do right by people. Very 3 simple, values that I pride myself on and I take into all the spaces, that I do. But I'm someone who, at an early age, was exposed to entrepreneurship in a way that allowed me to see how entrepreneurship is a pathway for folks to create the life they want. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. My grandfather was a company man. He was with the electric company for 40 something years before he retired. But my grandmother, she was the entrepreneur in our bloodline. And she had a sewing business that she did, and her slogan was "Sewing souls for the kingdom." And so she was one of the first, very few women pastors in the PAW in the 50s and the 60s. At that time, I recently, when she passed away, I heard this story for the first time when she preached in front of a group of elders at a PAW conference, and they turned their back to her, and she preached for another hour and a half, for 2 hours, and she was a little woman. She was 4 foot something, but you would have thought that she was
I love that strong.
she
woman.
was a fiery,
Yes.
she was a fireball. And so taking all that seed of what the folks before me were able to do, not only in ministry, but in business, it really impacted just how I saw the world growing up. And really quickly, for me, identified that whatever I was going to do in life, there has to be some type of purpose attached to it.
I love that. I love all of that. And I love the fact that you come from such a strong family. Let me tell you, that is the best training you could ever have.
Starts at home.
It starts at home. Thank goodness for education. but where your roots are,
Right.
that
Yeah.
will truly determine or help to guide what your path will be in life. And so you also have a couple of little ones. How old are your little ones?
3 and 4. So, well, if they were here, they would say, no, 3.5, Daddy, and 4.5. I'm like, okay, I'm my bad. I
Do
messed
not
up.
leave off that half.
Yes, because after school they get half birthdays. So
Oh, that's cute.
they get half birthday blessings, and so they go to chapel every week.
Okay.
And when it's their half birthday, they get a blessing. So from the chappie. So yeah,
You know what? And now I'm calculating mine. Okay, so I'm at the halfway point.
you have to have
Yeah.
Well,
I
consider
wanna,
this your half birthday blessing.
yeah, you know what? I need all of that. So I appreciate that. And you also have a beautiful wife that supports
Yes,
you.
yes.
And so how important is having that family support? I know your grandparents instill so much in you, but just to have someone at home that supports these endeavors, how important?
Yes, very important. I come from a family where marriage is important, family is important, right? And seeing that, went through one, marriage, and at that time thought that would never be me, or I would, the D word, scary,
Yeah.
and I found my wife and my purpose at the same time, and
Wow.
it was very surreal how it happened, but the work that I was doing, actually, I spent time in corporate America, and I know we're going to talk about kind of my professional experience, but the work that I'm doing now was really exposed when I went to a conference in California, Pacific Grove, California, called Shift Capital, and it was the first time I was at a place where it was a finance conference, but they were using layman language. They were using language of community organizers. They were using language of our ancestors. It wasn't just about the metrics and the numbers and percentages and yields and things like that. And I was like, okay, this is weird. Like, what is this whole thing that y'all doing? I already know Californians can be a little out there, but but at the same time, I was visiting there, and at the time, this mysterious woman that I was courting happened to be there because she was coming back from a mission trip in Africa, and she's from Pacific Grove. She's from Monterey, which was like maybe 10-15 minutes from Pacific Grove. So I got to sneak away and see her for the second time, because she was traveling abroad. And she kind of showed me a little bit of her hometown and things like that. And so it was crazy how those parallels, really came together, and later really started to be the benefit of having that partner and building something like Impact Ventures.
I love that it happened for you simultaneously.
Yes.
I love all of that. That is phenomenal. Now we're going to walk through your path to getting to Impact Ventures. So you mentioned your grandmother and her business. Did you know your grandmother was an entrepreneur?
So I didn't know the term, or I didn't know that what she did was for financial means. I just remember sneaking in the basement as a kid and seeing all her sewing equipment and seeing all the dresses with the plastic, the plastic on them, and seeing all the hats. She would make all the hats for the women for Easter Sunday and business suits, and she would make me and my brother these vests, and they were reversible, and she was just a very good seamstress, and my father was an entrepreneur as well, and I think he kind of got that bug from her, but I didn't know that that was something she was doing for monetary reasons, but I did know as I got older that a lot of the things that she did was off the beaten path, meaning that she was always going against the status quo. I talked about recently when she passed away, I learned the story of when she was preaching, this group of elders had turned their back to her while she was preaching because they didn't believe in women in the pulpit. Right. In the 50s and 60s. So she was one of the first few women pastors, and her little, 4-foot something, self was preached them until they had to turn around and say, who was that? Good. And so, but I also learned that she was a great financial steward. She was one of the the few churches at that time that had a fully paid off building.
Wow.
A fully paid for mortgage, on their church. And so, so a lot of those things that were instilled by both my parents and my grandparents are definitely something at a younger age that I didn't know. And speaking of like knowing about entrepreneurship, watching my father, at that time he was we had a church, but he also had almost two or three businesses that were all on the same. Like he had a mechanic shop, and then he had a trucking company, so he stored his trucks on the grounds of where the mechanic shop was.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah, why not?
Right.
You're leasing the land, why not?
Right.
And so had a landscaping business as well. And so all those different times I was kind of his sidekick. I would always fall asleep, and when he had a dump truck and he was taking the stuff out to the landfill, I'd be falling asleep in the truck. I was always with him, know. And so being exposed to that at an early age, I saw someone being able to decide and choose. And I think many people in this country don't have the power to fully choose, and I think that's what entrepreneurship affords people, is the ability to have a choice.
Yeah.
And so many people wake up without a choice. They do what they have to do. And entrepreneurship is not for everyone, so I don't want to sit here and be one of those people that preaches everybody should be an entrepreneur.
Right.
That's not true.
Right.
We need great number twos and great number threes. To help, because there's no vision without provision.
That's
right. And you need people to help build that. So
yeah, that's good stuff. So as an entrepreneur, and we're going to bounce around a little bit, Ben, as an entrepreneur now, how much more respect do you have for your grandmother and your father, with you having to go through all of the
ups and downs,
ups and downs of owning business? How much more respect do you have for them?
Oh, tremendous respect for the understanding of how to, people is always the number one challenge with any entrepreneur.
Yes.
People, getting the right person in the right seat. I always say right butt, right seat.
Yes, that's
Sometimes it's right butt, wrong seat.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, watching that and being able to assist in our family business for a while on the financial side, it's definitely gave me a great deal of respect for people who choose that path.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's easy to quit.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
Yes.
It's easy to just say, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah.
The hard part is waking up every day, knowing that, hey, I'm just waiting on this next check to come through so that we can make payroll, or I'm waiting for this next deal or this next opportunity to come through so that we can do the things that we need to do, and having that faith. So, I think having that strong sense of a foundation of faith has definitely helped and been kind of the thing that I've leaned on, and understanding that there are things that I can control and things that I can't. And that's where the faith comes in and says, okay, if I do my 20%, God is going to do that 80%. On my behalf. So
I love that. So you mentioned that that God blessed you with your wonderful wife as well as your passion simultaneously, which is, oh my God, that's almost unheard of. But what a blessing that is. What is the thing that you are passionate about, which led you to creating Impact Ventures? Talk to us about the journey.
Yeah, so I'll start back in college. I majored in finance.
Okay.
And minored in business management at Washburn University.
Okay.
In Topeka, Kansas. So shout out Top City. People don't know that's Brown and Board of Education. Topeka was it was ground zero for a lot that's possible in this country. But when I graduated, or right before I graduated, I was selected to go to a conference called GAME Forum. GAME stands for Global Asset Management Exchange Forum. Quinnipiac University in New York. And so me and two other foreign exchange students from China went to New York to go to this conference, and it was the first time that I was exposed to like high finance, right? So investment banking, stock market, think all of those things, Wall Street. Of course, I was one of the very few black students, in the room at that time. But during that time, a gentleman that I met, he gave me a book, or he gave me a reference to a book. And that book was by a man named, it was the life of Reginald F. Lewis. Why Do White Guys Get to Have All the Fun is the name of the book. And reading that book, I saw myself in so many parallels with him and his life. You know, he was an athlete, you know, that played sports and then realized that, okay, this is not the thing that's gonna, you know, that's gonna propel me to where I want to go, and quickly turned to business and ended up being one of the first, you know, doing one of the first, you know, $1 billion transactions as a black man in this space. And that kind of gave me the inspiration to pursue the career that I'm on now. And so, but I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know what that path would look like. I didn't know a black VC. I didn't know a black venture capitalist investor. I didn't know a black investment banker. I didn't. Right. And so when I moved to Texas, started in banking when I was in Kansas, where I'm originally from. But when I moved to Texas, I got an opportunity to work at Fidelity Investments. Yeah. And I will say Fidelity is where I built a lot of my foundational skills, right? And a lot of times they say that go to a big firm so you can learn a lot and then specialize as you grow. And I worked in different positions throughout corporate finance within Fidelity. But what was really impactful for me was the service part, because I had seen service embedded in my family tradition for so long. You know, when you're PK kids, it's just a part of your lifestyle, right? Yeah. You got to go to the hospital to pray for the sick. You got to go visit families and bring them turkeys. You got to, you know, there's all the things that you're doing for others. Yeah. Oftentimes, you that's just a seed that's planted, and so. While I was in corporate America, I felt like there was this glass ceiling, you know, that I was like, okay, am I capped out, you know, here? You know, what's truly the 5-10 year plan? Right. And outside of work, I was passionate around, well, I was new to the city. So I was like, well, let me, you know, join some networking groups. And back then there was a thing called meetup.com, which if you know, age myself a little bit, if you're pushing 40, you know what meetup.com is. It's the platform. It was before all the Facebook apps and all that stuff. But when you went to a new city, and it wasn't even an app at first, it was just a website. When you go to a new city, you go to meetup.com, and that's where you go find people, you know, that like the things you like.
Interest, right.
Whether it be dating or just for fun or networking. Right. And so I joined meetup.com to see, you know, what's happening in Dallas. And so I met all these different networking groups and things. And there was one in particular called Dallas Black Professional Social Network. And I joined the group to see what it was, because I was like, oh, let me meet other black professionals, you know, that want to be social. And ended up volunteering myself into a leadership position and became president of the organization for about 3.5 years. And during that time, this was like 2012 to 2015. And during that time, I was the youngest in the organization by probably 25 years. Okay. I just naturally gravitate to old, like all my friends are in their 50s and plus and 60s. And a lot of the guys I hang out with are in their 60s, you know. Just always naturally gravitate to older people. And I was the youngest person in the organization and volunteered my way, probably because I just had the most energy. And they were like, yeah, get them young folks to do it. Yeah. It's probably how it happened. But at that time, you know, I'm 20 something, maybe 25, 26, and I'm kind of thrust into this epicenter of Dallas, right? All things Black Dallas, whether it be working with different chambers, different cultural institutions, different government agencies. And so the pillars of the organization were social and culture, enrichment, civic engagement, and economic empowerment. When I first joined the organization, it was purely a social organization. Okay. And I added those kind of other 3 pillars of a framework to say, hey, this is what we holistic we wanted to do. Right. At that time, the Urban League was not here. The Urban League affiliate was not here. Okay. So there was this huge gap in the market for where do you go for Black, you know, professionals that want to meet people, that want to volunteer, that want to get civically engaged, et cetera. And what we found was that after 2 to 3 years, a lot of the transplants that would move here, they would move away to Chicago, North Carolina, Charlotte, Houston, other places where there was a thriving and connected Black professional culture. And in Dallas, they'll come here for 2 or 3 years and then they move to those places because they'd come here and they say, well, where are all the Black people? Or where do I go to find X, Y, Z? And so we were that glue that when people came here, they had an organization they can connect to and figure out where's the lay of the land?
Right.
So we had about 4,000 members across North Texas. So we had chapters in all the major hubs of North Texas. And it's funny because what I did with that organization is also the approach as we talk about the future of Impact Ventures, how we're kind of growing. And it's funny how I did that there, and now that's happening here as I'm talking about it. But we had about 4,000 members, and we would do, city council forums where folks that were running in different cities, including Dallas, we would host these forums. And as a 26-year-old that's leading these conversations and working with the different chambers and things like that, it was kind of like, okay, who is this guy, So that led to other volunteer opportunities like being on City Plan Commission and being a part of different PIDs and public improvement editions. I've been on a TIF, and so really got me like really ingrained in the city to understand where the gaps were.
Right.
And the work that I was doing outside of Fidelity at that time just brought me a little bit more passion, a little bit more joy, because I could see the impact I was making on the lives of people that we were supporting.
Right.
Versus my day job, I was pushing these reports and these muffin closes and things. And I was like, okay, how can I do this and make this a part of my passion?
Right.
So I went from Fidelity Investments to Fidelity Charitable, which is the nonprofit arm of Fidelity.
Gotcha.
They manage what's called a donor advised fund, or a DAF, a DAF. And this DAF is a philanthropic giving vehicle that anybody could use to make their giving more efficient, more streamlined. Like if you have a lot of money and you're giving to 100 organizations, you don't want 100 you don't want records for hundreds of different organizations. So it allows you to kind of consolidate all of that, do more charitable planning. And give out that money to your organizations at a later date, even though you get the tax benefit right away. Right. So learned about how people were using that. And then I said, okay, if I'm going to do that, I need to learn how to fundraise, right? Because as you know, as an executive director of a nonprofit, that is one prerequisite to being an executive director is knowing how to fundraise. Yes. So I took a role in fundraising for a national organization, and then that led me to another startup that was doing global microfinance in Central America for women entrepreneurs in Central America. And so all of those experiences really kind of shaped like a series of questions of why, why do these challenges exist? Why do these inequities exist as it relates to entrepreneurs and access to capital?
I love that. Okay, so you've had these wonderful experiences that led you to Impact Ventures, to be the founder of Impact Ventures. Tell us what that is. What is Impact Ventures? Yeah.
So Impact Ventures is a platform. We are a nonprofit 501c3, but it's a platform for economic mobility, meaning that we are looking at how do we take individuals from the point that they are today and increase their economic, profile, whether that be through wealth or income, specifically through entrepreneurship and access to capital. So in a nutshell, we help train, develop, and support entrepreneurs through technical assistance, accelerator programs, community events, and most importantly, capital. And that's the key piece that has been missing for ages, right? Intentionally. The work that we're doing now is really, really giving people the tools. We say access and opportunity, right?
I love that. So Ben, talk to us about some of the programs, because when I was reading your bio, it said that you've helped over 3,500 entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs and helping them get access to millions, $22 million plus dollars. Talk to me specifically about some of the programs that you've been able, I know you kind of gave us an overview of some of those, but what are some specific programs that Impact Ventures does to help get access to that kind of capital?
Yes. So our kind of foundation program is our capital readiness program. This is an 8-week program that we now are running across 3 different cities in North Texas. So we run it in Dallas, we run it in Frisco, and we run it in Fort Worth. And it's an 8-week program that only focuses on the financial side of the business. As you know, working with entrepreneurs, that is the side of the business that most entrepreneurs steer clear from. They know how to do the thing, but when it comes to finances, when it comes to accounting, when it comes to capital, they're like, that's not my thing.
Right.
Numbers is not my thing.
Right.
So we help really from a storytelling standpoint, I think the secret sauce of it is storytelling to make that numbers process feel less daunting. I remember I had an entrepreneur that came to me. They text me literally at like, it probably been 11:30 at night. Like, hey, I have a meeting with an investor tomorrow, and my projections, are not. And I ended up working with that entrepreneur until about 2 a.m. on Zoom, and this is during the pandemic, And when I explained to her that when you're looking at your financials, imagine you're telling a story, and your numbers are telling a story. And I said, the story. Yeah. It's just that when you look at it from a numbers perspective, it confuses you. Right. I said, okay, so I sold this many goods and I made this much money, right? That's the income. That's the revenue in the profit and loss statement, right? I spent my money on XYZ. Okay, that's the expenses, right? So when they started looking at their numbers like a story, then it was like, oh, okay, so these numbers are actually telling me something that's happening in the business. It's like everything is like the light bulb moment, came on for her. And so those moments and that type of stories are what's happening in that capital readiness program that takes them through, personal finance, understanding financial metrics, understanding all the 3 financial statements, understanding cash flow management, how to have different accounts for different things, how do you actually account for we count our money very well. We project when we do our financial projections. We project our revenue, but we don't project our expenses or control our costs. Right. And then we talk about types of capital. And I think this is the most important piece in the work that makes us truly different from other organizations and CDFIs out there is a lot of entrepreneurs are like, when you tell them I need $1 million, and they're like, okay, it's what are you going to do with that $1 million once I give it to you? Right. And what type of $1 million do you need? Do you need it as a loan? Do you need it as an investment? Do you need, what is the structure of it? Right. And so a lot of times entrepreneurs, they aren't exposed to capital, as much, so they don't know that there are different options out there for them, like revenue-based financing or like purchase order financing. For example, if you run a product-based company and you get these orders in, every quarter from your grocer or whoever, from Target or whatever, you could actually go get financing for those orders, or knowing when you need a line of credit and how a line of credit can help your business. And so we take them through that whole spectrum from debt to equity to grants on all the different financial structures out there. Wow. And so the interesting thing or the unique thing about our organization is that we're able to provide kind of all those different types of flexible structures based on the business. So instead of requiring people like an SBA loan to fit into a certain box where you have to have this credit score, you got to have this owner injection, you have to have this personal guarantee, et cetera. We try to form the capital around the entrepreneur and say, okay, what kind of business is it? What's the growth metrics? What's the debt service? Oh, this product would work best. Okay, they need a line of credit, or they need a term loan, or they need something else more flexible. And so that unique, I will say, process happens in that program to where by the time they graduate that program, they're eligible to apply for up to $50,000 in a flexible capital product. So that program alone has been, and we run that twice a year, in the fall and the spring. And that's just one of our programs. Our flagship program is our Next Wave Accelerator program. And this is a national program with a goal and an aim to really present Dallas-Fort Worth to the rest of the United States as a viable market for businesses to relocate, right? Yeah. And to do business here. So we attract 10 companies from across the U.S. They have to be either technology related, so they have to be high growth. So technology related or consumer product related. And so we usually have a cohort about 5 CPG and 5 technology related. And we take them through this kind of 3-phase process of learn, build, and accelerate. And during these kind of 12 to 16 weeks, they learn kind of like fundamentals and refreshers. They build, we focus on their product. So supply chain, if they're on the technology side, like what does it look like for product management, developers? Oh, you're going to do offshore versus in-house, so we talk about those things. AI is a big thing. So how do you implement AI into your business? And then the accelerate phase is all about business development. So we're connecting you to retailers, grocers, We're connecting you to corporate accounts. So B2B, we're like, okay, at the beginning of the cohort, like we build your wish list. So if you had a wish list of, let's say 25 people that you want to connect with, during that accelerate phase is when we're making those connections. And so last year what we did was we took the whole cohort on a field trip to Austin, and we toured Whole Foods facilities. So we got to speak to Whole Foods investors and their philanthropy department, but also kind of tour their facilities and kind of see how their supply chain works. And then that night we had an investor roundtable in Austin where we were to bring investors in and have a dinner to let them answer all the questions that they needed. And so by the end of the program, they were able to be connected with all of the EDCs across North Texas. So we bring them all together. So Frisco, Plano, Fort Worth. Now Dallas has an EDC, so we're going to be reaching out to them, bring them all together to understand the different let's say the different flavors across North Texas, right? So if you're going to do something in Frisco, it's very focused on sports, right? If you're going to do something in McKinney, Plano, very focused on fintech and things like that. If you're going to do something in Fort Worth, it's very manufacturing and agriculture and kind of that thing. And so the startups that we recruit, they can kind of see where they fit in the Metroplex. Yeah. And so that's really interesting program that I think is going to continue to grow over time.
Ben, that is amazing. And one of the things that you said is that you customize or you build the funding around the entrepreneur, which is something that's almost unheard of. Another term that you throw out here at us is that CDFI.
Yes.
CDFI. So could you explain what that is? I know that a lot of folks that are in the entrepreneurial space, they've heard the term, but they don't quite know what that is. What is that?
Yeah. So a CDFI is a community development financial institution, and it is a incredible opportunity and pathway for entrepreneurs who can't access traditional bank funding, right? That is the purpose in the existence of the CDFI, is to work alongside banks to where when banks have clients that may not have, credit scores that they're looking for, may not have certain collateral requirements or guarantee requirements, they work alongside and partner with CDFIs that has a little bit more flexible underwriting criteria. And so we're super proud of, it was a very, very extensive process to get through. As it started about 8 years ago, but really once we applied 3 years ago, that's when the process really started. But as Impact Ventures now is one of the few CDFIs that has been founded in Dallas-Fort Worth.
I love that.
One of the only that is minority-led and that focuses exclusively on small business support. And so the reason that's so important is because of proximity and relationships, right? And so having a local CDFI has local presence, has local tentacles into the community, local relationships to ensure that those capital gets to the areas where it needs to be. And so we have a satellite office, as I mentioned, in Fort Worth, as well as Frisco, to serve Collin County and Tarrant County. And so we're looking to expand that as a CDFI to really focusing on our capital lending side and partnering with other entrepreneur support organizations, other chambers of commerce to support their members with the capital side.
So you've mentioned a couple different programs that you have and some possible ways that some of these entrepreneurs could get access through your programs to capital, the needed capital, capital that they may need. What or how can folks that are listening get in touch with you, Ben, or Impact Ventures to get access to some of these programs?
Yeah, so definitely go to impact-ventures.co is our website where they can find, access to all of our programs. We have an upcoming capital readiness program that's starting in March that we have applications for. We have Her Genius is our event that we started about 3 years ago.
Love that.
Her Genius pitch competition. It's in focus for Women's History Month in March, and so we're revamping that. We also have applications for the Next Wave program that are open. That starts in the summer. So much happening all at once. If you want to get in the pipeline for capital, there's a pre-inquiry or pre-application. It's very quick and easy. I know sometimes it can be daunting to apply for a loan and things like that. So we try to make the entryway very, very easy. And so I think it's about 5 or 6 questions that we ask, and that gets you in the pipeline. So that's also available on our website. I'm mostly active on LinkedIn, so you can find me personally there if you want to add me there, just under my name. But yeah, we're really excited to really build and Dallas-Fort Worth, business is done here. That is one thing that we do in Dallas-Fort Worth. We do business. We eat, we drink, and we do business.
That's right. That's right.
And we go to church.
And we go to church.
Those are the things.
We got plenty of churches here in the southern sector.
Exactly.
So yes. So if there was one thing, one priority that you'd like to mention, what is one thing that Impact Ventures is more focused on now than they have been in the past?
Definitely, it's capital access. We're in the process of going through some strategic planning and thinking about what is the future of a lot of our technical assistance programs. When we started in the market in 2017, really 2016, October 2016, but we were formally incorporated 2017, July 1st. There were not a lot of technical assistance programs that really focused on certain industry specific, types of things. Yeah. There were general small business programs, but there weren't a lot of industry specific types of things. And so now that the market has changed, there's more awareness and things like that. We're really excited about being that go-to partner across North Texas for anyone, a chamber, a ESO, a bank that wants to partner alongside a local CDFI that has a very creative and very relationship-driven process in terms of funding. We're really excited about the opportunity because there's over 10 million people here in our metro, right? In our metro. And there's such a need, right now they talk about, Southern Dallas is about 51% of the land mass and only about 14% of the tax base. And so we can improve our tax base by supporting small businesses.
That's right.
Attracting small businesses, being creative about incentives that we can provide, and also bringing capital partners alongside each other. And so it just takes creative energy and innovation that there are a lot of tools in the toolbox. And so we're excited to be, I would say one of those tools that folks can now rely on and lean on.
Yeah. Well, Ben, thank you so much for being with us today and educating us about all the things, some of the things that Impact Ventures is doing for our community. And we've got a future program that we're working on together. Cannot wait to launch that collaborative initiative to again continue to help our community. But thank you. Yes. Look forward to doing this again if you're open to it.
I definitely am. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Well, you've just heard from Benjamin Vann with Impact Ventures. And if anything that he said sparks an interest, please visit him on his website, give him a call, and support this young brother doing great things for our community. Until next time. I'm your host, Keandra Jones. And again, thank you for watching another episode of Strictly Business Unscripted. We'll see you next time.